Good afternoon, good morning, Grenada. How are you all today? Welcome to another episode or edition of Grenada Matters. Not on Monday night or Monday evening as we usually do. This is a special edition, a special report. So welcome. First of all, thank you to all our new likes and the people across Grenada and across the world that have been supporting the page. 600 strong now, from 58 to 600 strong. Keep sharing and liking the Facebook page. So we're out on Facebook at the moment. You can also check us out, BWTM Online on YouTube. And of course, now this is streaming on our website, bwtmonline.com. So full exposure around the world. Everyone knows now Grenada truly does matter. And Grenadians matter. And for this show, I've called in a special friend. I have a Master Melvaughn Coutain back in the house. And he also has a friend with him as well. Let me set this up first so that we can let's check this second here.
Yeah. Okay, 1 minute. I'm not going, just 1 minute.
You can only do this live, and it can only happen in Grenada, where you're about to do a live show and the host walks off. No. But he's back now. Right, so Melvaughn, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe undo your mic, Melvaughn. How are we doing?
Okay.
Okay, I'm great. I did my chores for the morning. Today's Friday is not so much a busy day for me. I've been listening, and Hudson, I listened to him on a program called GMFM, and he's on point. And GMFM invited me one program with them. Earl Maitland invited me a night to come on with them, and I listen to all of them. And what Hudson is saying, he's really grassroots is one. He knows Grenada culture and Grenada history is one, which I'm into history a lot. And I contact him and the St. Patrick area, Tivoli, Shantimel. My roots is from Shantimel. I'm a Charles and a Philip, and Davie and these places. So I don't know that side of the family. I'm now learning them because I grew up in Trinidad part of my life. So meeting Hudson, he bring a light. So he wanted to do the show, and I said, okay, I'll contact Ingram. And here you are today in person.
Mr. Hudson, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on the show. Basically, I'm from the north of Grenada, from a village called Hermitage.
Yes, I know.
On the west side of St. Patrick, in the southwest side of St. Patrick. I was born about 700 feet above sea level.
Wow.
Raised smelling all the spices, right? And basically, St. Patrick is the most cultural village in Grenada because it's the furthest from St. George. And further you live from the capital city, St. George, you have a deep Grenadian culture because it is not invaded by foreign influence. Also, I usually write newspaper too. I write regular for years for Caribbean News now. And I write other newspaper too in Grenada. And so, I even wrote a few for now, Grenada too. But then I think some people didn't like my politics. So I think they kind of influence now Grenada not to publish me no more. Well, anyway, I'm still around. I got a small blog, a WordPress called Hudson George blog. I like to write about culture, jobs, and so. And if I see people talking politics and making a propaganda, I will try to explain my views opposite to this.
Well, that's the sort of person we love at BWTM on Grenada Matters. We want people that are going to speak the truth and tell it as it is, not as we'd like to hear it. And it's a pleasure to have such royalty in the house, I will say.
Yeah.
So you go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Yeah, you could start the roll now.
Okay. So Do you want to start with this, Melvin, or shall I?
Okay, okay. Well, basically, what Hudson was discussing with me is his concern about one, the gate in Fort Judy. I think you mentioned it to me also, and as I tell him, I haven't already seen. I just saw a clip in the media, and but what listening to Hudson and them Saturday night, one guy who was living inside, he got a house and living in Canada, and they had him there. And what he said is that one of the person who is on the board there, one, it could be a relative of the minister, the Nicholas Steele, or Nicholas Steele himself, but some connection. And Mr. Christopher Diali, who is one of the senator in the Senate, and he's one of the person who dealing with arbitration. He have a lot of caps in Grenada. Now, what he was saying basically, these guys, there is a committee, and these guys are part of this committee. I say, wow, if these guys is part of the committee, how could they come up with this idea to block the road for local persons to really go through? Is one. The next thing I heard this week is that on the news,
let's take that first. Let's flush that situation out first.
Yeah.
Don't know about the situation. I mean, you're talking like somebody on the island that knows what's going on. For those people who don't know what's going on the island, so I understand there's a gate that's been built in Fort Judy on a local road in Fort Judy. Am I correct about this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a barrier. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Hudson.
Well, what I find with this road going into Fort Judy. Now I live in Toronto, and I see a lot of developments, both present and past, for the time I'm living here. And I observe how they build communities. Right? They create subdivisions and they build communities. So this is urban planning. And in the wealthy neighborhoods where they build new communities, like I will call Fort Judy a community for the wealthy people, right? There is no way I never saw anything where the main road is being blocked from civilians going to those areas. It's when you're going into the community itself. For example, if you have condominiums and so, then when you're going to enter where the condominiums are, you might see a security guard in a booth.
A gated community.
You're right, and this is like we could call it a gated community if you like, but usually the gate they use is very modernized. So when you reach there, the security guard might ask you if you come to visit some resident in the buildings or so, and they have intercom and so, or if you come to drop a parcel, or if you come to do construction work, or if you come to do electronics work or electrical work, whatever, and then you could enter. But what is going on in Fort Judy is that they're blocking a main road that lead to the community. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it looks very backward that citizens driving on that road and you have security guard telling you go back because you didn't enter inside the community. So this is I consider that to be social apartheid. And when it started with this government or previous government, when they were doing the urban planning to create places like Fort Judy and Mount Egmont and those places, that urban planning was poor. You know, this is not good way to build a neighborhood. You don't build neighborhood with cutting off the masses of the population and creating private communities. Private communities the bulk of the population, when you create communities like that, you create what you call a sect. So you create a money class sect. Nobody knows what's going on inside those places. And the rate Grenada is going now, Grenada don't have a lot of crime. And Grenada is a beautiful country. It is attracting wealthy people from other countries to come and live in Grenada. And when they come, if we allow that culture of forjure the private communities, we'll have lots of communities like this. And then the majority of people in the population will be cut off from those sub-communities. And we wouldn't know what is going on in our own country.
Sorry.
So wait. So these communities, or the gated community that they're trying to create now, or they have, are for people that are non-Grenadians, you would say?
Some are and some aren't.
Okay.
So, some are foreign people who love Grenada, and some are wealthy Grenadians who never ever live around the majority black population.
So therefore,
these are what you call the Grenadian whites.
Bourgeois?
The Grenadian whites.
Okay.
Some of them come from the French Creole class and the other European grouping, and they're from the wealthy business community. These people never live around the masses of black Grenadians. The only time they ever intermingle with Grenadians is maybe when going to high school. These people, most of them school at GSS, the PBC, St. Joseph Convent, Anglican High School. These people in the youth, that's the only time they ever associate with the ordinary black people. And furthermore, everyone knows that there is a lot of private school in Grenada where people like that, the children, they don't go to public school. Elementary schools and so. That school like Beaton, Westmoreland. Melvaughn could help you on that one, you know.
Lutheran in Grandma's there, the Lutheran. You have the Montessori, which is a school you find mostly like SU students and things like that. And the teaching they're giving the children is more North American teaching. So you see somebody born in Grenada, but they're speaking North American language. This is the kind of thing what is happening with us right now. So we are allowing people to come in your community and change your culture. When I was doing conflict resolution, one of the things we was warned about, don't allow people to come in your country and change your culture. And this is what's happening right now, because a lot of persons is buying this passport and they have capital. And because they have in capital, they go down inside these places, and places like South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Ukraine, and all these people and them there. If you watch these people, they don't have much of our kind amongst these people. So they go in this area and live. And the system they have back in their country, they're bringing their culture with them. And we are allowing this culture now to make us quarrel and divide and rule amongst ourselves and agreeing on systems we're going to affect our grandchildren and future generation to come.
Yes. And furthermore, to enhance on Melvaughn's point, what is going on in Grenada, these people are creating what you call atomic cultural genocide. They're killing our indigenous culture. For example, in the south of Grenada, they're celebrating Halloween.
Yes, that's true.
They're celebrating Halloween, and they brought in Thanksgiving into Grenada, which is a North American culture.
And also
the invasion. And then we have our African culture, which is Saraka or Salaka. We have this. And then if if when young men have a couple of drinks, when it's not carnival time or the holiday, and they play a little bit of jab jab, which is the only thing bring Grenadian together, you will have people will come, oh, they're playing jab jab when it's not carnival time.
And dotting the wall.
And dotting the wall. Why is Halloween is far into Grenada? We know All Saints and All Souls Night, 1st and 2nd of November.
Yeah.
But because of the Americanization, they bring in Halloween. We have Thanksgiving. They make it a national holiday to praise the American invading Grenada. And young people never see the armored cars and all the weapons that the PRG had. We should have a museum in Grenada where young people could see the armored cars and all the military the military weapons we had from Cuba in a museum. Young people should be able to be seeing this in a museum. We don't have. I heard a girl, a young intelligent girl on a program, a radio program. You use the letter, pronounce the letter Z as Z. And as Melvin was saying, the Americanization of our culture. We grew up saying Z, and I heard the girl say Z, which is not American broken English.
Yes, yeah.
There's been more incidents in Grenada as well. So talk to me about the other incidents. We've talked about the gated community, the gate that's blocking civilians to walk, to go up a public road, and put a gate there, and that's causing problems in Fort Jude.
There's the next incident I watch on the news is one up in Coles Gap in St. David, where the person, they said because of COVID, they didn't want the people to enter into a yachting area. Now, I didn't go, but I'm talking to persons who live around there who was in several of the meetings. What they say the people have done, they built a jetty across the beach. And that jetty divided the beach. So if you can't go, you're not allowed to pass on the jetty. So therefore, the next side of the beach become a private beach. That jetty should have never erected. And if I could tell you, I know if Hudson know, and Grenada's Beach by Silver Sand in Gary days, from Silver Sand Hotel, you walk out the jetty, and then you have a step, you go up the step, you go out, and you come down the step. So there was a bridge, so the local persons could have passed below the jetty, and the hoteler do his business, his guests enjoy the beach, and the local also enjoy the beach. But if you build a jetty across from your hotel, straight across, and planning, and all these persons who supposed to be looking out for our interests, allowing something like that to happen, well, therefore, South Africa apartheid is coming in slowly, because that beach will become a private beach. Now, the same Minister of Tourism, I think it's a year, it could be 2 years or 3 years ago, was on national television asking for anybody have piece of land border with a beach that Sandal Hotel is interested in it. Okay, that was her word at the time. Now, eventually that beach again will become a private beach. So therefore, you're going to have an issue, because you know, our people, we are allowed to go on the beach, we cook, that is our culture, catch we fish, we go and get we sea egg, we roast it, we have a banana sea egg right now. And that's how we enjoy, because we don't have Disney World here, we don't have Water World, we don't have no big set up museum. So the only thing it have for us is the beaches and the waterfall. So now, if hotels are coming in and taking these things and turning it into product and only geared towards one group of persons and eliminating the next group of, then we're going to end up like Jamaica, where Jamaican people cannot go on the beach. They can't visit the tourism site because they don't have capital. So when people get vexed and say people putting down and we're talking politics. This is not politics. This is issue that interfere with my life and my generation to come life. And it is serious. Okay? When you're privatizing the waterfall and all these different things, and you're going into the sulfur spring, and the people want to see the black hole, as they say, down inside of there. Well, there is a law where you could acquire certain area. So therefore, if it become a heritage or a tourism site, all the state have to do is ask for 3 feet of land, because it's on the plan. I think it's either 2 feet on your boundary, step in, and then you have a pathway to go to there, and you interfere because there's laws for that. But if person's not minding our business, who you put there to represent you, and instead of representing you, they're misleading you and making you believe you're foolish, well, therefore, we're going to end up with things continuously happening. And we always have to remember we slave children. That is the only thing we have. If you had to go to the US, Canada, anyway, you need to have your documents. The only thing we have is this little rock we're living on, because our foreparents was brought here. We wasn't even paid or even receive a letter of apology. So how come you could take the same persons who did that to us and bring in their grandchildren to say, yes, they're building hotels and they're making it and they're going to employ us. But when the hotels start to build here, we're not capable of working here because we don't have the skill they're looking for. So therefore, you see people start coming in from the Philippines, Mexico, Colombia, and all these persons getting good salaries. Some of them getting paid even in US. So we in your country, you become what they call a stepchild within your own country. So yeah,
they're creating a two-tier system.
No, you're Ingram.
Should there not be a system in place then that if any of these hotels decide to come to Grenada, the policy should be you must employ Grenadians and you must train them and you must employ them. You must employ them. You must train them. You can't come in the country and not employ the people on the island. What kind of nonsense is that? Politicians are to blame for this, and the tourism, they're all to blame for it. They're to blame for it because all money.
Ingram, the tourism is controlled by the same group. Okay, so they control that area. As I said, you put people to represent you, but sometimes you don't want to know. Back in Gary days, my grandmother told me, she said, the same Fort Julian, on the selling land of the Gary, tell people, Grenadians, go up there and buy land. Don't only allow white people to buy all the land in Wester Hall and all these areas and land Sapine. Go and buy land too. Because you're going to end up, but people didn't listen. So look what we're happening today now. The tourism industry controlled by the same group of persons. These people even take a woman from Ireland and create a body called Tourism Authority and put her in charge.
From Ireland?
Yes, she in charge of Tourism Authority. Now, there's a lot of slave pen. I as a person believe in history, right? And in my spare time, every time I catch me, I always go by the Carib side. There's a great house in the same Hermitage. I went there. I went to see the condition of this place. That place, there should be a heritage site. And the step and everything is intact. And I said, would this woman ever have an idea to develop that area? There's a lot of places, if you pass in town opposite NIS, opposite Andal, there's a slave pen there. There's a lot of these places there. These places need to clean up. Even the market, the present market is where you used to take our foreparents, grease them, bring across in the market, and put them up for sale in the market. $10 million was borrowed, I think, in '99, was to renovate and build back a state-of-the-art market up to today. But the point is, there was a statue inside of there. When we was doing history class, European history, and he reached on the market, and they show us photos. That statue there is the original statue. Where it gone? Which this whole market there could have been a museum. All these things disappear. All the shackles disappear. The guillotine disappear from inside of there. And this is part of your heritage. So the children are growing up. It come like the whittling system. And like how they're teaching you now, we get to know because Black history now, people are doing research now, information are coming out now. People realize the Egyptian was actually Black. But the brainwashers with the movies and the books and all these things about Egypt was a group of set up, and a man now, an Egyptian man is here and they saying, okay, he's an Egyptian, he's an African. No, these is people that invaded Africa, as you know. Them is not from the Kush, when they say the Kushan people or the Kushan Empire and all these places and them, and the Congo and these places. You know what kind of people these people are. But the point is, this is the culture. They're moving your culture and they're invading your country and bringing a next culture. And the people who you put to represent you is the biggest supporter, because these are the people come in and say, okay, now with the beaches, so we're gonna start back tourism season and the cruise ship is coming in. So you're going to take people from the cruise ship and then you're going to boat them straight to the beach, like how it used to be. That it used to be in the 70s.
Okay, well, hold on. Hold on one second. Tourism in Grenada, it has its positives and it has its negatives. Now, I've been on both sides of the coin. I've been a person who's come on the island and been a tourist when I first came on the island, until I came to understand what the systems are like, being there 2 years, understand the system, the buses, the beach, the this, the that, who comes where, when they come. So I just the system. But then, for people who come on the island, who just want to come on the beach, enjoy the sea, enjoy the sand, they want to enjoy themselves. They don't want to be bothered and hassled, and because a person has got money from another island or from another country, they don't want to be hassled and be asked, can you give me some money? Can you do this? Can you do that? Do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy that? And for some people in some cultures, they don't want that. They just want to come on the beach. They want to enjoy themselves. They don't want to be hassled and haggled on a beach. So I understand some of that mentality of wanting to be away from that. I get that. Some people just want to be with their families and sit down. And then there are people within Grenada, not just Grenadians, but there are people who will take advantage of that and take liberties with that situation. Or instead of just trying to, they're trying to make a bit of money, their behavior and their attitude is not right. It's not professional. And it gives other Grenadians a bad name. So you have that. You have the very few ruin it for the majority. You understand? So I understand why they may want a private beach where come, do your stuff, enjoy yourself, without people trying to sell things to you on the beach, without people trying to hassle you. They'll take advantage of you because you're a foreigner. Listen, I've had it done. I'm black, and they've had it tried to take advantage of me when I've gone to pay for a bus. And I say to my mate, listen, for a taxi, say, I want to get from here to the airport. And the man trying to charge me extra money. I say, why are you charging me extra money? You ain't charging anyone else extra money. And they look at me because of my accent. So we discriminate against people of our own color.
Well, what you say is true. What you now said is true. But the root of it comes from not the hustler on the street. For example, the people who own apartments in the south of the island, Melvaughn knows that. The same way the bus driver try to overcharge you because you're coming from England, he catch your accent, he try to rip you off. The government is allowing business people to exploit the foreigners in a legal way. For example, if you're a student at St. George's University, there are people around in the south of the island who will rent an apartment for you and pay them in American money.
Yeah, that's true. Even selling land too, that price.
So you see, the double standard comes from right there. Secondly, there are a lot of idle police in Grenada. They're waiting to hear a young man use what we call a four-letter word to arrest you. When they smell a giant of marijuana, to arrest you. They spend most of the time trying to pick up a young girl. Keep them busy on the beach. So if ever anybody is hustling the tourists, then you could charge them for hustling the tourists.
Okay.
Secondly, again,
all right,
there are tourists who come to Grenada looking for a black guy. And it's not only in Grenada, you have in different islands.
Yeah.
So then you might have what you call the lumpens, or you have rent-a-dread, which is very common in Jamaica and Dominica. The island Dominica have rent-a-dread.
Dread.
The rent-a-dread.
Rent-a-dread. Oh God!
It's a kind of they're like
they sell out. They sell out.
They're sellouts, right? They rent-a-dread, the type of rastas. I was listening to an interview with a rent-a-dread from Dominica. He said he had a woman, I think she was from Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
She rent him, but she like ecotourism. And because Dominica is a natural environment,
yes,
she stayed with him for 5 years, and they even had a child.
Yeah.
Whereas in Jamaica, you find the rent-a-dread on the beach. Do you ever watch the movie How Stella Lose Her Groove?
I've seen it.
The lady wrote the book, and it happened to her in Jamaica. She went to Jamaica in Montego Bay and picked up a guy. Married him. He has no skills, no nothing. Bring him to America. She lives in Hollywood. And then she found out he was gay after. And then she took him when she kicked him out, he took her to court for maintenance. She got to look after him. I think she got to pay him money now, based on the story. So she wrote the book of Stella Lost Her Groove, but the story kind of happened to her. And it's all because of rent-a-dread. But then going back to what Melvaughn said, Melvaughn talked about the market square. The market square is supposed to be a museum.
Yes.
And what happened in Grenada? Gary led the first successful revolution in Grenada. But what happened? When I say that, a lot of them just vexed me, because a lot of black people compromise in our history because they could rub shoulders with certain people. They don't want to rock the boat. What we have in Grenada is that the people who lead much thought in revolution, or they were from the oppressive class. And when Gary took Grenada, Gary created a Grenadian style of black power, empower black people. What you talk about in North America, I learned the word we call affirmative action. We didn't use it in Grenada, but Gary was helping the less unfortunate to some extent to evolve in society. But then the people from the mulatto class or the plantocracy, they were always educated. So the children came back as revolutionary, Marx and Lenin. But by the time they came back, Gary became a dictator. Gary era was over. So then Gary was overthrown. And the overthrow of Gary, I think he happened in the right time. I like to be plain. But the revolutionary people, all they had was Marx and Lenin. They didn't understand the Canadian society. Also, Melvaughn talked about St. Patrick. He mentioned the slave pen in my village, Hermitage.
Yeah.
There are 9 slave pens in Mondridge, right by Mondridge Great House, close to the playing field. There are 9 slave pens and an open yard called Nigger Yard. That's where they used to assemble the slaves, perhaps before they go to work or whatever. There's also a slave pen when you reach in Shantimel in St. Patrick, going down the hill, we just call that hill Samaritan Hill, in this big great house there. There's another slave pen there. There's another slave pen there. They are not developing the tourist sites in the rural part of Grenada. We have MPs in parliament in Grenada. I don't know if they're just in parliament making up numbers or if they have a voice. The present regime in the campaign talk about empowering women. So we have a parliament in Grenada with a large size of women MPs, elected MPs. And I don't know if these MPs got a say in making political decisions or they're just member of parliament. For instance, I think that Grenada is being run by a handful of people in St. George's. And the rest of us Grenadians, we doesn't have a voice. We don't have a voice. We have a St. George's based government. That's my opinion. For instance, there is a place called Simon. And we usually call that place Simon because of the racetrack. It was a racetrack. There's a bridge there we call the Simon Bridge. That bridge deteriorated over the years until motorists have to report that the bridge have become not suitable for driving. Yet we have an MP, an elected member of parliament living about a mile or less than a mile away from the bridge.
Wow.
You have 4 female MPs in St. Andrew. And those MPs are not living far away from the bridge. So whether they report that the deterioration of that bridge to the government, to the administration, the boys in town didn't care about Simon Bridge or Simon Bridge. But if it was a bridge in St. George Parish, they will have fixed the bridge. So we don't have no proper representation for us Grenadians in the rural part. And when I say that, people tell me I'm creating tribalism. But you could see it. Imagine you take the government reshuffle the cabinet. They took an MP who grew up in the heart of St. George's from a well-to-do class and make Minister of Agriculture. Imagine that. Why is there are people in Grenada who have masters in agriculture? So why you have an MP who maybe never even plant a grain of corn is a Minister of Agriculture? These are things we have to discuss. You hearing me? Hello?
But it's the old boys network, isn't it? It's just me and my mates looking after me and my friends. That's what it is.
Yes, it's a cabal. A southern cabal. We got one of the longest airstrip in the Caribbean. Furthermore, our airstrip was the longest airstrip by the time the United States invaded Grenada. I think Grenada airport is about 11,000 feet or something like that. The longest airstrip. The US used Barbados to invade Grenada, and one of the payments was to make Barbados airport a few hundred feet longer than the Grenada airport. And Reagan delivered that. That was what he gave them like a price. Then Trinidad enhanced the airport, and now Trinidad got the longest airport. They restructured it. So Trinidad are the longest airstrip now, followed by Barbados and now Grenada. The government of Grenada want to build a next airstrip close to the one that they have. Whilst we need a medical hospital in the center of Grenada to look after citizens, which one is more important? We need a hospital. We don't need a next airstrip. The only 2 Caribbean islands conquered ever land was Barbados and Grenada, because they had the two largest airports. We have 112,000 people in Grenada. We don't need an airstrip. We need a hospital.
So, how much is the threat of apartheid real to Grenadians?
Let Melvaughn go first.
Okay. Now, Ingram, you can Google apartheid and read it so that the public know what is the meaning of apartheid. Because a lot of people just hear people talking, they comment apartheid dealing with discrimination, segregation, class system, and I could tell people about it. I come to Grenada when I was about 2 years old. Okay, I went to school in the Beer. I went Berean kindergarten, and I went Grandance. I went Palmer, and then my father take me out of here and he brought me back. But I heard a manager say he come from Trinidad and he feeling go change Grenada. Oh God, anybody, this is me. I ain't taking no side. I'm not in no politics. But because of my complexion and my outspokenness, people put you in a certain class. And then they put you up and say what is an activist. I'm not no activist. I'm just a person. Love my people, love Grenada, and I have an eyesight to see what's going to happen with the next knob. If we play domino, the next move you're going to make. And basically, apartheid, if you're telling me you asking us not to be on the beach when the tourists come on the beach, therefore, who will be selling the drinks to the tourists? Who will be doing the braids? Because a lot of them just want to hear plait. Who will be doing the nails and all these other things we have here again? And as my brother said it again, some person have stress. Most of my best friends I have right now is people that come from out Norway and all these people, and they come. I sit down and I reason with them. And I left them with something. It might be money, but because of that, we create what they call relationship and not treasures for money. But we share it, and up to now we connect together. So basically, what you're coming for. And if I cannot be there, therefore we heading down the road at Jamaica where Jamaican people cannot go on the beach. They have to pay to go on their own beach. Because the police now, where you taxing me now to buy equipments for them, they're going to have pepper mace and the baton and all these sort of things now to arrest me now because now I go and use the beach where you take my forbearance and brought them here, never compensate them, and your grandchildren is coming here now. You telling me I mustn't intermingle with your grandchildren, and people are supporting things like that. No.
Do you know that the Fanti King of Ghana visited Barbados to go to a beach called Brown Beach? It's a beautiful beach. To pay homage and to Fanti people who were buried on that beach. And in the ceremony, I learned from it when I was in the ceremony. They were saying that the beach shores of the Caribbean are sacred grounds for Black people. Because a lot of Black people were buried on those beaches when the slave ship came. Who died. You bury on that beach, whether it was in rebellion or whatever. So government is telling you just to get some tourist dollars, citizens shouldn't be going to the beach. Why is the tourists are on the island in this COVID time? I think that's nonsense. I think this is nonsense. This is nonsense. And again, Grenada does not have a proper system for tourism. Grenada don't have proper system for tourism. Culture, Grenada is not working on a cultural industry. What they have is people close to the government is hustling tourist dollars. Grenada need to have what you call a best village competition or best parishes competition and go and invoke culture. There's a lot of cultural activities in Grenada that need to be. Government should spend money on Grenadians who got culture. Go to the village, find the people with the culture, enhance the culture, sell this culture to the tourists. They're not doing that. Everybody want to build a place and hustle tourist dollars. You have a Calypso association or organization. They split it in two. Government got one set of Calypsonians in the camp and one set in another camp. And historically, a Calypsonian is a griot. He's supposed to be a messenger. The things we're talking about now, Calypsonians should be singing about it. But because politicians bribe Calypsonians, some of them wouldn't sing on those topics. So this is why we have to do those type of media blog and sort of journalism, because in Grenada, Calypsonians compromise the art form to eat a food, you know? And these are things we must talk about in Grenada. Secondly, the media. Grenada media is in poor state.
Compromised.
It's been compromised. We need, in order for Grenada to become a democratic country, we need to create a new system of government and introduce proportional representation. Because when new government come in power, they act like dictators. We need to have a parliamentary system like Sweden. Even Guyana, with all its racial tension, they still have proportional representation that helps that country from being exploded. Because in Grenada, the winner takes it all. The winner takes it all. And this is why we're in that state right now. Yeah, you go ahead.
The other thing I want to talk to you about, I don't know how much you know about Grenada in terms of its international law. We have a situation on the island regarding the asylum seekers and the refugees. And Grenada is the only island in the band of the Caribbean that is not adhering to the law regarding refugees and asylum seekers. What are your thoughts on this, and why is this the case?
Well, I am very much disappointed in Grenada, in the government behavior with refugees. And because if you have a government is selling passports in the program called what? CBI, I think.
Mm-hmm.
If you could sell citizenship, 87% of Grenadians in census say they are African, full-blood African. They're not mixed race. 87% of the population. So I cannot see why an African come to Grenada and ask for political refugee should be held in prison. I think that person should be given a hearing and somebody sign a bond for them and let the person free. Let them live in society. Give them a work permit. And whatever little job they get, Grenada is not a big place. You're gonna know what kind of person they are. And in a year or two, if the person is a good citizen, you could give them Grenada citizenship. Grenada is basically is underpopulated. And what a lot of Caribbean people doesn't understand is immigrants that build countries. Because immigrant will take a job
that a lot
this doesn't want.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was in Grenada in 2007.
Okay.
My mother was sick and she was dying. So I spent 2007 in Grenada. And she died in February 2008. And I came back up. And they were building the stadium. And it was said that they were offering young Grenadian men $60 a day to work in the stadium.
Right.
And they refused the job. So maybe we see people from Haiti is running everywhere looking for a place to stay and they send him back. I can see why Grenada cannot take 6,000 people from Haiti. They will work. There was a next project again where St. Lucian came and took the job that Grenadian didn't want. I'm talking about 2007. I'm not making it up. I'm a media person. I follow media. The young people said the $60 was not enough. But in our other project, I think some St. Lucian came and did the job. So Melvaughn could enhance on that because he's on the spot, so he knows.
Okay. Well, what I'm hearing now, let me get some information. That sponsors did come forward, but government refused it. So our sponsor is job given to him, but they say jobs for Grenadians. Your thoughts?
I didn't hear you clearly.
Basically, the government basically said they didn't accept the sponsorship. But I think Melvaughn's got something more to say.
Well, the government, you never know, because the way the government operates is like, if presently I find the government is operating like if we living in a one-party state. So Melvaughn might be able to give you a little light on that one. He's on the spot.
Yeah. I won't go too much in the refugee thing because it's too close to home. Okay. But what I'll say, okay, on that is a shame to know that happening, because Ghana right now, any one of us you see that speaking here right now, if you only touch down in Guyana and Ghana, you're getting a passport, you're getting land, and whatever it is there for us. Okay. Now, if someone from Ghana,
say that again. Repeat what you said again.
Any one of us right now that talking here, between the three of us, decide to travel to Ghana right now, you're receiving a passport citizenship and also a parcel of land. Okay? Because that is Ghana is one of the places was compromised in the time of slavery. To ship, there was a ship called Jesus. I know if you heard about that ship, Jesus of Black.
1555.
Right.
And they said that the slaves were put on the ship, and they thought they were going somewhere beautiful and nice. But they didn't realize slaves, and they were on the ship. And the lady said, "Just bring me sweet Jesus. Take me home and bring me sweet Jesus." And that was instead of the song.
And they make a tune called "Sweet By and By." Make the grace how sweet thou song, thou save a wretch like me. That tune was written. You understand? No.
Amazing Grace.
Yeah, how sweet that song. That tune, that was the tune they used to sing, leaving the harbor. Save a wretch like me. No, I'm lost, but no, I'm found. You understand? Now, that ship used to bring our foreparents. So, brother, we are what they call slave children. Now, the meaning of the West Indies is slave territory. West Indies. Columbus was lost. Okay, and he said he found a group of islands and Columbus discovered it had Afrikaners living here before.
You can't discover something that's already there and people are living there. So you discover
okay. So now what you find happened here now, they asked to form one block and was to give us independence. Grenada received a document because, far as I understand right now, the constitution we haven't even finished. And a lot of the island, Barbados, as recently is asking for to be a republic. Now, they asked for the CARICOM to form a block, and then Dr. Coutain saying 10 from one from 10 leave none. Then they come up with CARICOM. CARICOM was to create that block to apply back for the riches and wealth, and the persecution was done to us by the church and the banks and the monarchy in Europe. Now, if all what we're saying, and a brother come to this side of the world and asking for help, and we're doing that to him, and the people who control the legal system in Grenada is from the same South American country you talk about, Guyana, that control the legal system. These is the advisors, these are the people that making decisions. So therefore we have a problem. Okay? Now, as again, and I keep on saying, CARICOM was designed for slave children. So if you take a passport and you sell it to somebody from the same Europe, which is the grandchildren of a slave master, come back and take the same CARICOM passport. Therefore, and you have a diplomatic right, the privilege and rights and benefits what me and you should be getting. He receiving it before us. And this is some serious things to discuss and to look at and to fight against, because it can't be right. You can't persecute me, create a system to wipe out my history and heritage and repage back your history and heritage by teaching what Jack and Jill went up a hill and Dan is the man in the van and all this and the cow jump over the moon, and you remove my system and my history and my culture, and then you come back now telling me to forget it. Forget it. And we have a level of poverty. Do you know Grenada put capital in the world, rated #1 for mental people is in Grenada, the size and the amount of mental person, and the documentary and history could trace back to slavery, going from generation to generation. Because from the harbor, from Ghana to the Caribbean, which you call the triangle, people pack, stack on top of one another, and somebody vomit or somebody break a wind or somebody through the passage having to have diarrhea, and you down there. Some of us die on that journey. Some of us trip off, we went mad, and we make it. And when you reach on the island, you get a whip in your back and they grease you to bring in that same market square. What we take in the fool and play the fool, which should be a tourist attraction. Okay? And then some of us having to make it. And then slavery was finished, and they release you and put you back out into here. And then they put you back on the estate to work and create a system which you call the Willian system. And then you come now, you're from CARICOM, selling the heritage of the country and all this sort of thing. The ending up of the day, where we going, what happened with us? Okay. This is serious concern. What really going on? You're telling me I cannot, there's an island they call Carnivini Island. I can't go on the beach. You're telling me no, I can't go on the beach because when this cruise ship come in, okay, we went across on Carnivini Island and did to do picnic, and some big dog it have over there that's coming smelling. So therefore the dog coming next to you, you're going to move because you're not accustomed to that. And there's some fisherman, I think was in St. David, somebody just buy the property there, and they was been fishing it for over 40 years, generation to generation, and somebody come and mash down wherever it is, and they don't want them there. So if you continue going like that, what happened to your heritage and your culture? and you put persons there to seek after your interests. They're preventing you from doing things for the country, and then you support, because I sure if it was somebody from South Africa or Ukraine or one of these places, they'd come here and ask for help. They would have never done that to them. They would have never put them up in they call it Morgan Run. They would not put them up there. So why is you doing that to one of our black brother? That is discrimination for me. You're discriminating against a race, because there's others living here. Just imagine, I heard in Parliament, them people was talking about when the Chinese was building the stadium, the same stadium, where they say that Grenadians didn't want to work. That's not true. You can't want to pay people crab salary, and when they go in the shop, the goods is like lobster price. It can't work. If the standard of living is lobster, I'm supposed to be getting lobster salary to buy the goods. But if you give him a crab salary, how do you expect I will live when I have to pay bills? You're taxing me. You have VAT to pay. You have property tax to pay. You're talking about tax on your telephone. Just name it, tax all around. How you going to make it? The banks, everybody breathing on your back. So you abolish slavery and you create all these institutions. You create the banks, you create the insurance, you bring a mall, you get rid of our heritage sites and you bring a mall and you create what they call an urban society. Say you're building low-income house for people. But in the low-income houses you're building for persons, you can't plant a fig tree, you can't plant. So therefore, now, you over the years, for the past 30 years, as Hudson said, the revolution is educating people. So you mash up the revolution, you stop teaching people, because they was going in the homes and teaching people to read and write and spell. They was teaching people skills. People was going over the wall and studying and coming back and walking back to Grenada. You get rid of all these things. So therefore now, you don't have skills because you was only focusing on academic. I am a martial artist. I am begging these people, give me a few young person to work with. There's over 100 million they say spend on a youth program. If I'd only get 20,000 out of that, I would have make it work. You're preventing me from doing. There's a lot of friends of mine willing to come in and assist the bill, because martial art right now is a global thing. So the question is now, all this grant funding, all this money coming, gain towards your family, your friends, you're preventing the next group. And then when a man have his skill, well trained, you want to pay him $60 now as a mason to put up a block. When the man go home now and he get his salary, 5 days a week he work for $60, like $300. He passage alone for the week is mostly about $200 to $100 and something dollars, because you're getting a flying tongue doing that, you'll get somebody from the country. Then he have a wife. When the month up, she have her monthly duties. Okay, as a woman. He have children, they have to go to school. So you have to give them $100, depends on what school they're going to. They have to pay the school fee, they have to get books. They need to eat. A human being supposed to eat 50 pounds of food a week. We're eating 50 pounds of flour. We don't have agriculture as before, because you get rid of that. So when people go in the garden and they get provision, so therefore they only go and buy rice and a little sugar and then flour, and then you go on the beach, you get 2 little jacks, however it is, you destroy the mangrove, you destroyed all the seabeds and all them things because of the hotels and the amount of yachties coming in and the pollution of the sea. You're talking about the Orinoco River, so the Caribbean Sea is polluted, the reef. So therefore, you could have gone and catch crab, and then the crab, you use that and you sell it, and then you could have take the crab, you cook with your crab and callaloo, you get rid of drains because you have a concrete jungle. So therefore, you didn't teach people to deal, how to live within that environment. What you expect going to happen? How you going to tell a man to work for $60 a day and he collect $300 a week? He don't have insurance. If he gets sick because he's not eating properly, he taking it as stroke or heart problem, he go to the hospital give him a fee, he can't pay. The man have, when the night come, he can't buy a bottle of tonic because he have so much to deal with, and the joystick can't rise. He go have confusion in the house with the wife because she not been satisfied. So we have to, I could go on and on with the problems we have within our
The joystick. Oh, Melvaughn.
And
Nice.
another social problem in Grenada is the lack of what happened in Grenada, and the politician is promoting it, which is incorrect. Grenadians vote to elect a government. They didn't vote for church and state.
Wow.
And that is one of the problems in Grenada. Grenada is one of the few Caribbean islands, few countries in the world, beside Islamic countries, where I see religious leaders is trying to influence politicians. And you talk about mental illness in Grenada. One of the things cause mental health problem in Grenada is because a lot of Grenadians haven't given the social freedom to express themselves and be what they are.
That's true. That's true.
There is an Ethiopian guy we worked together all through the COVID, and last year we worked together in the same place. And he lives in Cuba for 4 years before he came here. Maybe he went there to study. And he told me Cuba have nightlife. You could go. He told me Cuba have entertainment, ladies dancing. And when he told me that, I was surprised. Cuba, because he told me after the Soviet Union disintegrate, Cuba find a new way of creating a tourist industry for them to survive, because they didn't want to give up the socialist government. So they compromise. They go in the hotel industry, but they create local entertainment for the industry. You have dancing, you have this, you have that. In Grenada, we got nothing. Nothing. Because everything the government do, the church come with the Bible. But when the government is oppressing the people, like you go to get a job, and maybe they might say, oh, you don't support the government, so we got to hire somebody who will support us. The church didn't say anything. Because the church themselves is the root of the oppression.
Thank you.
Understand?
Thank you.
I belong to the Anglican faith. And the rules in the Anglican churches, if you are not a regular church goer, you cannot bury in the Anglican cemetery. But your dead body could go into the Anglican church, and the priest going to do the funeral service for you. But
you
cannot bury in the cemetery. They have to find somewhere else to bury. So this is the ABC of oppression. So the politician or Kit Mitchell go say, I wouldn't give Melvin a job. He could bury in Grenada. He could live in Grenada, but he don't have a right to have a job. You won't get Hudson a job. Hudson could live in Grenada, but he can't get a job with my government. So it started from the church. The church is vindictive to even a dead body. That dead body cannot intern inside the Anglican. So the politician is doing it too. You didn't vote for me. You might go to Soca Monarch or Calypso King Monarch, and maybe you should win. But maybe your song was anti-government. So this is why I'm saying they had a few referendums in Grenada out failed. But perhaps the next referendum should be proportional representation, where small political parties will have a say in government. So that could be a good thing. And secondly, at the rate we're going in Grenada, Barbados is going to become a republic next time. And based on the constitution, they don't have to have a referendum to do it. But even though Grenada is an independent country, our constitution says we have to have a referendum of 2/3 majority for us to break away and get a republic. And at the rate our political culture is, Grenada will be the last Caribbean country to become a republic. Because, yeah, I'm telling you, although it's an independent country, there is no way in the present state of Grenada a referendum will give a government 2/3 to become a republic, because our political system is so tribal that nobody wouldn't vote for that 2/3. Nobody at that state where we are present.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to have to bring this to a close. Any final thoughts? Melvaughn.
Well, you can't just bash because we just was discussing. I went to Santo Domingo and I was in a camp over there, martial art camp, Taekwondo. And for the time I entered the country, I went there, I had a pass, and I leave. When you're talking about the taxi man or the teaching ground, the people are trained to take care of you till you get back. It's a poor country, but when you enter and you're leaving, the way they treat you, the tourism, the taxi man, you want to go back. And what I'm saying, my recommendation, I believe all these persons who drive in bus in Grenada and dealing with tourists should go in T.A. Marshall Community College before they get the bus license or tour guide license and do a course for 6 months in human behavior, customer service, and put structures in place. And they're supposed to have a license and it's supposed to be renewed or some kind of thing. So there are people to know how to treat people as human beings. So therefore, nobody will rob you as a tourist because they hear your accent. And then my man, as a person living in the diaspora, they won't segregate against it. I am living here, and I tell you, discrimination, I just go through it. But I will always be me because I can't be nobody else. You understand? But we need to get rid of that racism. We have racism too much. I could point out the racism from community to community in Grenada, from Lansapin coming right back, and I could point it out because I've experienced it.
We'll do that in another episode. Thank you, Mel, for that. Thank you for your contribution as always, Mr. Hudson.
Well, in my closing, I will close with the Fort Judy and the low income housing, and I'm looking at the future. If you're going to create private neighborhoods or private communities like Fort Judy, if the government continue allowing these private communities, and then they want to create low-income houses for working class people, in 20 years from now, we're heading like Jamaica with ghetto people. Because if you have a uppity people living at one level and we don't know what's going on inside it, the well-to-do, and then you have people living in housing complex, the lower income people, we're going to end up with ghetto culture, and then you're going to have a next group of people living away from ghetto people. And this is Jamaica's problem. And we importing this kind of system in Grenada, because this is why Jamaicans are bleaching. Because most likely the people who look white live in in Jamaica, they talk about uptown. And then you have ghetto. So if we don't check ourselves in Grenada, and we have to kick against private neighborhoods, this well-to-do private neighborhoods. Because once you're having a two-tier society where it's going to explode and then it's going to lead to crime in 20, 30 years.
Well, I will invite you to, if you would like, to share your blogs and your blogging. I'd like ask for you to become an official blogger for Grenada Matters and also for BWTM online, so people can see the work that you do and to do more further talks and more education, because the more education people can have, the more aware they can big meat. So this stuff is not being censored. So we would welcome you with open arms for you to continue blogging on our platform and also continue blogging on the Grenada Matters Facebook wall, because that's gaining traction very fast. Grenadians matter, Grenada matters, we matter, and therefore we need to be educated, empowered, and inspired, and that's what we're here to do.
Well, thank you very much, because the way Melvaughn and I do we blog, Grenadians have a culture where they call themselves educated, but they don't sequence. They do discussion like if it's classroom. And once you start drawing examples of issues, of topics into the discussion, they tell you, no, you're straight from the point. And we always ask them, when you're writing an essay, you got to have footnotes.
You have to have evidence.
Right. And these
different sources.
This is why a lot of educated Grenadians are not open-minded, because they're always presenting, they don't hold proper discussion.
Well, Mr. Hudson, we don't have to deal with them.
Well,
we
run us anytime.
We don't have to worry about that. Right here,
all right, man.
It's open discussion.
All right.
So bring it.
We will be back.
Bring it.
Yeah, man. Melvin,
right. Yes,
we'll be
sir.
back. Right
Yes.
on, my brother.
Good.
We got to change Grenada.
Good.
We can't do it with the guns.
Okay.
If we do it with the guns, we're going to become a proxy state. We don't want to be proxy.
Good.
We want to be Grenadian culturally. Maurice Bishop and him try to do it with revolution. But revolution with the gun cannot change Grenada. We need
let us learn from our forefathers. Let us learn from the past and be better in the future.
Yeah.
Don't be bitter. Be better.
Be better. Right on, brother.
Right. As they say, namaste. Thank you all very much. And this is Grenada Matters for another show. Please do share the video. Get it round. Share it with your friends, your WhatsApp groups. Spread the news across Grenada. We're coming.
Yeah, man. All right. All right.